Good morning, and it's a proper cold one today. It's currently 1 degree, but it was -1 at 4 or 5 o'clock this morning, and I was up listening for sounds of carp, hoping I could see something out there or hear something in the distance, but there was nothing, not a sound, just the birds. There you go, that's where I am, on a big pit on the outskirts of Lincoln, 160 acres. It's flat calm at the moment, looking good, but you've got to be in it to win it. And I do know that this lake's got good winter form. You know, when I joined the syndicate, I was told that November, December, it does do bites. And last week it did fish to 41 pounds, and one of the guys also had a 39. So, you know, I love it. Got to have the rods out. You know, I'm well prepared. I know that this lake's got good winter form, and that's one of the main things about winter carping for me, is you've got to be on a lake where you know there's a good chance that you're going to catch carp. And this venue's got good winter form. It's done some big fish over the years. And when I joined in, I think it was May time when I joined here, I was told then that November into December it does do bites, even into January as well, depending on what the weather's like. But it was cold last week. We had temperatures down to -1, -2. Some really cold biting winds as well last week. It was quite tough being out on the bank. And at the moment it is quite cold. It's still only early. What is it? 10 o'clock at the moment. I mean, it's the 24th of November at the moment. What do you guys think is winter? When's the start of winter? I talked about this before, but for me at the moment, I think we are into winter because we had some frost last week, and the fishing is getting tricky as well. We're getting those less bites but better fish. So for me, this is the start of winter. And what I want to do today is talk about winter preparation, because this week I'm out on the bank for 4 nights, and last week I was also on the bank for 4 nights. So I want to talk about, you know, my preparation for being out in these kind of conditions, the clothing that I'm wearing, the gear that I'm using, my setup, the food that I'm eating and stuff like that. Having the right frame of mind to fish in these kind of conditions, because a lot of the time it is about the frame of mind, because you're enduring a lot of blank nights, a lot of blank periods. It's those out of the blue moments that you're waiting for when the carp start to feed. You might get one bite, you might get a couple of bites in a little small window. And to sit out here in these kind of conditions and these kind of temperatures, it's not even cold at the moment for me. You know, I've been out in some really stupid temperatures over the years, places like Cassin in the south of France. I remember being on there and it went down to almost -20 one night. My lines all froze, but when the sun came up in the morning, I mean, this is extreme, it started to get in towards 20 degrees during the day. A massive temperature difference between the night and the day. And it takes some graft to be out there in those kind of conditions, and it also means that you need the right preparation. So what I'm going to do is take a look at my setup and what I'm wearing and stuff like that. Maybe give you guys a bit of an idea into, you know, what I'm using to be out here for 4 nights a week in these kind of conditions. You know, obviously we're all different. Everybody's different. Everybody's body makeup is different. Some guys need to have thermal gear on all the time. They need to have diesel heaters and need to be drinking cups of tea all the time. But, you know, this is just about my setup and my way of doing things at this time of the year. So without further ado, let's take a look at my bivvy setup inside and stuff, and how I've set it all out and what I'm using, because, you know, that's where it really starts for me. It's been in a nice comfortable shelter, and, you know, that's where you're going to be spending most of your time, in there, sat there doing nothing, waiting for those special moments. So let's have a look at my setup. Now, there's a lot of guys on this lake that have got the camper van type setups that they can drive to the back of the swim. They open the doors and away they go. They've got 5-star accommodation, TVs, beds, kitchens, everything, you name it. And they're probably going to be looking at this and smiling, because this is the setup that I'm using. Not only can I not afford one of those camper vans, I actually prefer fishing out of a bivvy. And this is the setup that I'm going to be using, not just at the beginning of the winter months, but right the way through. I'll be using the same setup probably through till about mid-March, maybe the end of March. This is the XO Plus bivvy, which is from Carp. And there's 3 different bivvies in the XO range. There's the smaller 1-man XO bivvy, which is the one that I've been using through the spring and the summer. Then there's the XO Plus version, which is a slightly bigger version, and there's also a 2-man version. Now, this particular version, it's slightly bigger than the XO. It gives you a little bit more depth at the back, it gives you a little bit more extra room at the sides, but most importantly, it gives you a little bit of extra height, which is something that I like, because at this time of the year, we spend an awful lot of time in the bivvy, in the dark nights, just whiling away the hours, waiting for those special moments to arrive out of the blue. So if you're sitting in the bivvy a long time, believe me, if there's nothing happening, it soon drains your enthusiasm for being on the bank. So having a little bit of extra space is something that is very important for me. Now, the other thing about this bivvy that I do like, I'll show you inside in a minute, but the other thing that I do like about this bivvy is it gives you the option to use the inner capsule which you can't do on the one-man version of this particular bivvy. Now the inner capsule, it's all-round protection. It's not just got side and roof protection, it's also got protection underneath. It's got a built-in ground sheet which is underneath there. You can just see it down there. That's a like canvas type material. And the ground sheet that you can see on top of it, that is actually the ground sheet that comes as standard with the bivvy, not the inner capsule, because when you buy the bivvy, you don't get the inner capsule. That is something that you've got to buy separately. And it's dead easy to set up. You can just see in here, there's a few clips, and these clip into these little plastic loops that are built into the roof and the sides of the bivvy. It takes about 4 or 5 minutes to clip it all into place, but when it is in place, it gives you a lot more protection, a lot more comfort, which is perfect for this time of the year. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I absolutely hate waking up in the morning with a frozen inside of the bivvy. So having this little bit of canvas material, even though it doesn't stop the condensation, you can see there's condensation inside the first layer, it does stop it from dripping down on you, and it also gives you a little bit more confidence and warmth inside the bivvy, which is something we all need to give us the confidence to be out here for as many nights as we want. Now there's a look inside. It's very roomy, very spacious, and as I say, this inner capsule, it comes separately, and I put the price on the screen now for you to have a look at it. But basically, when you buy the bivvy, you get the ground sheet that you're looking at there, you get a skull cap which isn't in place at the moment, and you also get the poles and you get the pegs. So basically the inner capsule is something that comes separately, and I've only just fitted this in yesterday, and I fished here last week and the temperatures were really cold, and I forgot to bring the inner capsule with me. And if you ask my wife what it was like on the phone last week, I was moaning all the time about not bringing it. So there it is in place, nice and comfortable, and I've still got plenty of space down the sides. Now the inner capsule doesn't come in the one-man Exo bivvy, it only works in the 2-man and the Exo Plus version. So if you're interested in taking a look at one, there's more info on the Avid Carp website. The other thing I do an awful lot of in the bivvy at this time of the year is sleep. So it's of absolute importance to me that I've got a good bed chair in there. And this is the Benchmark X bed chair, part of the Ultra series. I've done a recent video on this channel, so I won't go into great depth, but basically it's the X version, so it's the biggest bed, and you can see we've still got plenty of space inside the bivvy. And I've got the dual layer system on there. You can see that I've got this nice quilted material on the inside. That gives me extra warmth on the inner side. And I've also got on top of that this sleeping bag cover, bed chair cover, call it what you want. And that just gives me an extra layer, which is ideal at this time of the year when it goes below sub-zero. But this week, I don't think I'm going to be using that a great deal because we've got some temperatures that's going to be 5s and 6s. Now inside the bivvy, you can see I've got loads of space, and you can see down here to the left, I've got my main rucksack. This carries basically all of my important stuff, my essential stuff. I've got in there my tackle box, I've got my pop-ups in there, I've got my scales in there, I've got a small tripod in there. I also carry my toilet roll, my cooking equipment, which you can see down here. This is a stove that I'm using today. I've got various different stoves at home. When it starts to get to below sub-zero and these kind of gas bottles get difficult, then I do step it up and use one of those what they call them, the fast burners and stuff that they use for mountaineering. I use those as well. And you can see down here I've also got a couple of little pouches. This is the one that carries all my main bits and pieces, my knives, forks, spoons and stuff like that. I've got a couple of head torches down here, both from the Fox Halo range. This is the one that I use in the bivvy. This one is operated on 3 AAA batteries, I think it is, or AA's, can't remember. The small, thin pencil type ones. This has got various different settings on it. It's ideal for doing my cooking and just my sitting around in the bivvy, just whiling away the hours. And then the one that I use outside is this little baby down here. This is a really great head torch. This is the one that I use not just in England, I also use it on the big lakes overseas, on Salagoo and places like that. It's got a great beam on it. It's not got many settings on it. It's got 3 different light levels, a low setting, which is that one. No, that's the high setting. It's got a medium setting and then a low setting, and it's also got a flashing setting. And this particular torch is great on pitch black venues. Even when I'm using the video camera at night, I can use this on a full beam and get some great lighting, which is ideal for using my video camera. And the good thing about this one is it's also rechargeable, which you can do just off a standard power pack. All you do is unplug that there, and you've got a little power port in there, which you just plug into your power pack. A great head torch. Now, the other torch that I carry in the bivvy is this Ridge Monkey here. It's just a magnetic strip on the back which fits perfectly on the inner capsule, and it's got, how many settings has it got? It's got 4 settings. It's got the low white strip, and it's got the high white strip, and it's also got a high red strip and a low red strip, which is there. Oh, there you go, that's the low one. So absolutely great bit of kit this is. I've had it for probably about 10 years or so. I got given it when I was at Carp Talk, and I've not had to change it or replace it or anything. And one of these on the lowest setting will last me weeks. I've taken one of these to Salagoo and places overseas, and I've not needed to charge it during a 2-week trip. So when you're on the bank in England for a week on the low setting, it'll just keep going and going and going, and an absolutely great bit of kit, not overly priced either. So anybody who wants a good torch for inside the bivvy, that one comes very well recommended. I think I mentioned earlier on about the inside of the bivvy. I've got the inner capsule ground sheet in, which is built in place, and then on top of that I've got the ground sheet which comes as standard with the bivvy setup. Now some guys obviously use carpet and things like that inside the bivvy, but I don't tend to do that. Just 2 different layers, these 2 different layers, the canvas one underneath which is there, and then this PVC one over the top is perfect for me. Sometimes I might get a car mat out of the car and just place it down here, especially when it's very, very cold, and you know, when you're sitting on the bed chair, your feet are just on this cold floor all the time. So sometimes if it's like, let's say sub-zero temperatures, -2, -3s, -4, sometimes, you know, fishing big lakes, they don't freeze over, but the conditions are very cold on the bank. I might put a rubber mat down there just to give me a little bit of extra protection. And on the other side of the bivvy, this is my food bag. You can also see I've got a pair of wellies. These are thermal wellies, great for going in and out of the water on a venue like this. And obviously cold feet is something that I absolutely hate, so just a standard pair of wellies in these kind of conditions, it's a no-no for me. It's always going to be a thermal layer in there, and these are absolutely great, especially if you're spending a lot of time inside the water paddling around as you do on a big lake like this. Right, my food bags. I've got this little bag down here which is my food bag. It's a cooler bag. This has got all of my fresh bits and pieces in. It's got my fruit, my veg, my cheese and things like that. It's got a bit of broccoli in there. It's got some chicken drumsticks in there as well. I've got cucumber, carrots, potatoes, quite healthy, a little bit different to most carp anglers. And as I say, that's my cooler bag. It's got the foil inside there, so it keeps nice and cool throughout the day and the night. And my other main bag, if I can just zip this one up, my other main bag is the one behind it, and this is the one that I carry all of my other food items in. It's a bit of a mess in here, unfortunately, but basically a bounties. Basically what I've got in here is, in this bag here, that's all of my porridge oats. I've also got a load of nuts and raisins and stuff like that. I eat quite healthily. I've got some milk in here. I've got some soup in here. Loads of these, like what they call protein bars that I eat a lot of. I've also got Tesco Finest bread in there. I've got lots of whole wheat pasta. I'm a little bit different to most people. I don't eat a lot of the stuff that most carp anglers eat on the bank, but I do get a protein fix because I carry lots of tuna chunks, and as I said earlier on, loads of nuts and raisins, and you know, lots of milk. I do drink quite a lot of that as well. And also I've got those chicken drumsticks in the other bag as well that I mentioned before. So that's basically it inside the bivvy. Oh yeah, there is a rain jacket here that I've got to hand, which I always carry just in case it starts to rain during the night and I need to get outside the bivvy. And I've also got a chair down here as well, which is, I don't even know what this is called. This is one of the old Avid chairs, and I use it as a bed chair buddy just as much as I do as an outside chair, because we don't actually have a bed chair buddy in the range. So all I do is I just clip this front legs down, leave the back legs in place folded up like that, and then I just rest it on top of the bed chair like that, and that's what I sit on mostly during the day. And there you go, sat on the bed chair, and this chair is nice and comfy because it's got these arms, and as you get older you like having a bit of an area to rest your arms. And the good thing about this bivvy is it's nice and high, and sat on the bed chair looking out the bivvy door, I haven't got to crouch down, I'm not putting any pressure on my lower back, I'm just sitting back and enjoying what it's all about. Well, it's all about catching into it, but at the end of the day, it's all about enjoying yourself, and I can definitely enjoy myself if I'm comfortable, even in conditions like this. Right, next thing, let's take a look at what I'm wearing, and I'll show you how I'm dressing myself for these kind of conditions. Cool, I tell you what, it's absolutely lovely in here at the moment, because I'm filming this the next day, and at the moment it is, what is it, 11:30, and the sun is nice and high. We've got a blue sky, and I'm on the right bank because the sun is beating down onto this side, and it feels absolutely lovely here in the bivvy because I'm on the back of the wind. So it's not just important to have the right gear, it's also important to be in the right swim, not just regards to getting on the fish, but from the comfort factor, because at the moment the wind is heaving down to that far bank over there. It's a cold northwesterly, and I can tell you it's going to be freezing on the end of there. So I'm glad I'm over here, even though I'm not catching at the moment. Right, I want to talk about clothing, and before I do that though, I firstly need to say I apologise for the state of what I look like, because I am a very messy carp angler. The wife will be smiling about this at the moment, because I can see from looking at this jacket, it's just as I sat down to sort of get myself ready for this little bit of filming. I've got food all down here. I've got porridge on my trousers down there. I've got toothpaste all over the wrists of my jacket. It's just how I am. I'm a little bit rough and ready. I think that's the best word to use. So if you're one of these guys watching this who likes things nice and clean, I do apologise. Anyway, let's start with the footwear, because this is the most important thing for me. If I've got cold feet in the winter months, I absolutely hate being on the bank. I start losing my enthusiasm, and I start thinking about packing up, going home, moving, swim, all sorts of things. But if I've got the right pair of footwear on, and last week I didn't come well prepared. I said earlier on about the bivvy not being well prepared with the inner capsule. I didn't have that. I didn't have the right footwear, and I absolutely hated being out here. But this week I feel almost like, not sweaty, but I feel really warm. Not just because of the sun, but because I've got the right footwear on. I feel really comfortable. And over the years I've tried lots of different footwear. I've had these Facebook posts where I've asked guys to recommend what the best shoes are, then you get confused because there's a million people giving you different ideas. And in the end, I've settled for these boots that I'm using now, and I've used these for about 4 or 5 years, and these are definitely the best pair of footwear that I've used in the winter time. I've had to pay for them. I'm not sponsored with footwear, so I'm recommending them to you guys purely through what I think of them. There's nothing to do with sponsorships. They are basically a Carrymore, and so that's a well-known brand, and they are called, let me just look inside here, the Snow Fur 3 Weatherlight. I'm not sure whether they're still available. If they are, I'm sure there's a much more modern upgraded version of them, but these boots have lasted me now for 4 or 5 years. They're great. They always come out in the winter time, and I think from memory I paid about 100 quid for them, and I got them from Sports Direct as well. I basically got fed up of listening to people's recommendations on Facebook and what have you, buying them, wasting money, not liking the boots, and in the end I went to Sports Direct, had a look what was on the shelves, tried different versions, and I settled for these, and these are absolutely brilliant. They really are. And the reason why I like them is because they're very roomy inside. I'm a size 11 boot, and on the shelf I tried the size 11 and they felt quite roomy. And the reason why I like that room is because the tighter the boot is, the more my feet stay cold. If I've got a little bit of air inside the boot, then the air warms up and it keeps my feet nice and warm. I've not got many pairs of socks on. I've just got one pair of socks on in here. There you go, just one pair of socks. And the boots themselves are quite, well, it's like a furry material inside, which is nice and warm, and they're also quite roomy, and it's that room, as I say, that keeps my feet nice and warm. Now, on the downside of these boots, they are quite heavy, they're quite cumbersome, so they're no good for walking around the lake. They're certainly no good for stalking fish in the margins if you come across any carp close in the winter time, because they're very clod-hoppy, they're very heavy, and they're more suited to sitting in the bivvy when you're not doing a great deal. And obviously at this time of the year, if you fish the kind of lakes that I do, where they're very slow, you're going to be sitting here blanking for long periods of time, and these are the kind of boots that are perfect for just sitting here and not doing a great deal. As I say, they're called the Snow Fur 3 Weatherlight, and these are apparently a black, but they look a bit more grey bluish. But obviously, as I say, I've had them for a few years now, so they're well worn in. Absolutely great boots. Check them out on the internet or at your local Sports Direct, because they definitely come well recommended. Right, moving on. Start off with my lower half because generally speaking I can get away with stuff on my lower half. I don't tend to get very cold around the legs, the bum, you know, that kind of area. It tends to be my feet and the upper part of me. So I'll just take this jacket off so we can see what I'm wearing. At the moment I've only got 2 layers on, and for the most part of the winter I can get away with just wearing 2 layers. And at the moment what I've got is a pair of salopettes. This is part of the Arctic 50 suit from Carp. There's been various different Arctic 50 suits available over the years. This one is about 3 years old. It's very hard wearing when you consider how much fishing I actually do, and it's still in really good working order. That is testament to how good this particular product is. Now the salopettes are something that I always wear in the winter. I don't always wear the matching jacket. I'll come to that in a minute, and first of all I'll just take a look at what I've got underneath these, because today all I've got underneath is a pair of technical combat trousers, which are quite a lightweight, loose-fitting trouser. And underneath there, I nearly said Y-fronts, they're for old men, and I know I'm old, but I've got a pair of boxer shorts underneath there, and that's all I've got on. Sometimes I might put a 3rd layer on the bottom half, like a pair of leggings or long johns or even running trousers. You know, that's when the temperature really does get cold, when it gets down to -4s and 5s. At the moment this week it's been down to about -1, and I feel absolutely fine. Mostly down to these salopettes, because these are a cracking pair of trousers. Now, as I say, there is a matching jacket for the salopettes, but I'm not wearing it today. The reason for that is I do find the matching Arctic 50 suit quite a cumbersome jacket, and I like to be able to move myself around. You know, I'm active, I'm always doing things, tying rigs, filming, whatever. I'm always active when I'm on the bank. I'm not always just sat there doing nothing. So, you know, I like to be able to move quite clearly. So I find that smaller, lightweight jackets tend to work better for me rather than the big heavy ones, but it's all down to yourselves. And the jacket I'm wearing today is this one here. Can't remember what it's called. It's an old Avid jacket, but it's a lot more easier wearing and lightweight than the matching Arctic 50 jacket. And underneath that, all I've got is just 3 lightweight layers. And as I said before about the footwear, it's all about having loose fitting items that keeps me warm. And underneath this, I have basically just got a, let me just take this microphone off. I've got this lightweight fleecy zip jacket there, and then I've got a t-shirt, loose fitting t-shirt, that's a large size, and then underneath that I've got a running shirt, which is a long sleeved running shirt. Now this particular shirt is actually quite tight to the body, and then on top of that I've got a loose fitting t-shirt and a loose fitting hoodie. And those base layers, although there's 3 different layers there, the very fact that they're quite loose fitting, it's that air that's between the items that keeps me warm. So I always go for the looser fitting products rather than the tight fitting products. And that's basically it. You can just see the red arrows going over at the moment. 3 of them. Something you always see on this lake. Let me just sit myself up. And as I say, that is basically it on the clothing side of things. This will get me through the most part of the winter. If it does go really cold, I might upgrade the jacket, and as I say, also put a 3rd layer on the legs. And then at night all I'll do is I'll just strip the jacket off, take the salopettes off, and then what you can see underneath that is what I'll be wearing in the bag. And it always works for me. But everybody's different at the end of the day, aren't we? You know, we all like different things, but that's a look at what I wear throughout the winter months. And it's all about being comfortable on the bank and being confident and enjoying the long blank periods. And at the moment it is a long blank period, but I'm pretty confident that something could happen. It looks good today. The lake's looking fantastic. I'm on the back of the wind. It's nice and warm. There's lots of features in front of me, so you never know. I might end this session with a nice big fat old November carp. I think he might have picked me other line up. There's the fish just there, you can see it. Don't look a bad carp actually. In she goes. That looks all right. That don't look too bad. Chuffed with that. Very nice. Not a bad November carp. That's a 30 all day long. Lovely. Well, there you go, a lovely November carp of 33 pounds. It's absolutely freezing at the moment. But I've got the right gear on, and not only do you need to be really well prepared at this time of the year, and you also have to endure lots of blank periods. But one of the other things you've got to get used to is taking night shots, because very often on a lot of the lakes I fish especially, it's night bites in November into early December. But anyway, let's get this one back, and I hope you guys have enjoyed watching today. And if you have, then please like this video and subscribe to this channel for future films, and maybe I'll see you again real soon.